Hello there everyone, my name is Candi and today I am back with a new sketchbook tour. As you all know, we are just past the season of Inktober and Halloween. It's the art challenge that everybody tries to do during the month of October. If for some reason you're not aware of what it is, you just get one prompt and you're supposed to come up with an illustration for it. This year I didn't do Inktober, I ended up doing Cattober, which is the challenge that my friend Candi and I come up with together. I will put it on the screen so you can look at the prompts, and if you wish to do it, you can. We decided to do it in October so that it would be together with Inktober, but it's open to anybody at any time of the year. And since I posted all of my progress on Instagram, I also thought I would make a sketchbook tour out of it, just to talk a little bit more in depth about the picture. If you're curious about this sketchbook is just a normal mixed media pad. I got it off of Amazon and I think it's a German brand, whereas the picture on the top is an old picture of our character Jacques. It's from an other art challenge that we participated in called Marianarch, which was made by Marianarch, and I will leave that in the description if you want to go check it out. I think this is from 2020, 2021. I'm not sure. But here we go. Let's get started. This is the prompt list in the book. I stuck it in and then I started highlighting every day as I went along. I forgot to do the last 3 days because it was becoming draining, but I did do all of the 31 days, which you will see in the book now. All right, starting off with day one, this was Moonlight. You're gonna see me kind of struggle with remembering the prompts. I don't have the list on hand to look at it as I describe them, but I will try my best to remember them. So the first day is Moonlight. This is our character Danaeus, and he is the god of the moon within our universe called Dawn. He is actually a human. Dawn is heavily inspired by the mythologies of the world, especially Greek and Indian and Middle Eastern, as well as some of European legends. And he is the god of the moon, so he controls naturally the moon and all of the elements related to it, so the sea movements, constellations, as well as other elements such as moods and I would suggest plagues, perhaps. There's a lot of lore about this character. I'm actually quite proud of this picture. I think it's one of my strongest starters in Inktober / Cattober. I've been doing it since 2015 probably, and it would be interesting to make a comparison between the sketchbooks, like lay them all out, but I actually would have to find all of them, so maybe if anybody's interested, let me know and I might try to do something similar to that. Day one, Moonlight. I was actually also trying to do this. I sketched all of the pictures digitally. I tried to use the same amount of referencing with statues and paintings, and then I would do a color code digitally before I then did it on paper. I didn't do it throughout the whole book, but it would be interesting to look through those as well. Day two, Perfume. This, for example, was a combination of ideas. These two characters are called Dorothée and Lunia. Their time period is somewhere around the 19th century, and Lunia is a military general, whereas Dorothée is he has shady business going on in the city that they're from, but he actually is madly in love with Lunia and they have a secret relationship going on for a while. And I wanted to, first of all, I wanted to draw glass because I think it's really fun to draw in color. And secondly, I wanted to create this balance between the picture and the meaning of it, because perfume, at least the way that we see it, is usually associated with women's perfume, whereas usually males would wear cologne. And my friend Candi and I were joking about how people would tease Lunia and saying, oh, you're buying perfume for your wife, when in reality he's bringing it home to Dorothée. I also hope you guys like my Halloween nails. I tried to record this video just in time in order to keep my Halloween nails on. Day three. Day three is Injustice. This is our character, Prince Christopher of Ilvacar. This is from a completely different universe. Dorfe and Lunia come from the same book universe as Dawn, and Christopher instead comes from a universe called Coat. I will put on the map or the coat of arms of Illicar to kind of give you an idea. He is the spare to the throne, which means he was the second son of the current king, and the crown prince was actually his older brother Roderick, who was killed during a war with the Empire of Shasan, which is another force in the universe. And this is Chris coming to terms with the image of his brother, who is supposed to be the king. This picture was actually all right to make. I had fun in the process of making it. I would change many things about it. I would probably spend more time on the skeleton, and I would probably spend more time in general on the coloring and in fixing Chris's face. But overall, all things considered, considering this was done on a day where I finished working at like 8:30 and I only had like 2 hours to do it, it's not too bad. Anything could be improved, but just because these were drawn for Inktober/Cattober doesn't mean that I can't go back to them in the future. Let's move on. Okay, day 4 bargain. This is one of my favorites. I added a little bit of extra pinch of edits on my fire alpaca with her eyes, making them just pop out. I will put the picture around here. And this is still from the universe of Dawn. This is the goddess of delusion, Aite, discord or delusion, and I wanted to create a 2-parter piece between this one and one that comes later on in the challenge. This one is called Bargain, and the other one I think comes around Judgment or something similar. And this is her. This, I imagined it's just how she appears, and she's looking down at the person who summoned her, and she is asking something in order to make a bargain with the person that has decided to summon her. I wanted the coloring in this one to be a little bit darker, a little bit dustier in a way. It's hard to describe, but I wanted it to be interesting to the eye, and I wanted it to give that sort of intimidation that would allow the person to step back and realize they are in the presence of a goddess. She is also from the Dawn universe, which then spreads to other universes of ours like Kavikanem and other related ones. Oh, this one. Okay, this one is tense, I think. This is the god Aristeus. He is the god of the sun and the god of certain forms of life. I think it's pretty obvious that the correlation sun and moon is one that a lot of people can easily make, so he's actually going to be together with the god of the moon. This one was really particular. I based it off Caravaggio's David and Goliath, the structure of it, and this was the first picture that I redid completely. The original was during the daytime, so I tried to do a lighter background, but it felt so washed out, and his eyes were washing out with the background, and everything was just like melting together, and so I decided to redo it. So this is probably one of those paintings that I would put within the lore of our characters. So it's a painting that people would paint of this god throughout the generations, where he takes down the Titan of life, which would be the... Is progenitor even a word? I'm not sure, but like the ancestor of the current god of the sun. And then the new hierarchy of gods would be created, sort of like in Hesiod's Theogony. That's the basic gist of it. I like it. I think it's not bad, but I definitely would probably redo this calmly over maybe a couple of days and not just twice in the same day rushing for it. I think this is Dilemma. Yes. This shows Prince Terence of Halera. He's friends with Prince Christopher that I showed earlier, and he lives with a curse. He is the crown prince of Halera, but he lives with this curse and this paranoia and this idea that he will constantly either get hurt or die, or something will happen to him because of all the things that have happened to his family in the past. And so we were discussing, Candi and I, how he would sometimes, well, actually a lot of the times, go down in the crypts of their family underneath the palace, so usually the royal cemetery, if you will, during the medieval times, in order to speak to his father. His father is alive for the first part of the story, so we actually see him, but it would have been interesting to actually go forward in the story and see how he goes and talks to his father about the decisions that he's supposed to make. So I just decided to go for this. I wanted something quicker. Obviously, coloring something in a monochrome scheme is going to take you less time than something with a full-scale painting. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead and try that. And it didn't turn out too bad. So it's pretty good. Stand. All right, I am not exactly sure if I can show this, so just in case I'm going to be covering this part, I mean, it's still artistic, but just in case it's not allowed, I will cover his bottom. This is for stand. All of these elements, I also decided to take a quote from the novel scripts that we're making in order to make them fit. This was something that we were doing before, like creating a sentence for the prompt, whereas now I just decided to take something that is already written somewhere or that would be used within some of the scripts that we already have. And I decided to go with Daeyeon this time. This one is, there is something that happens within the universes of Dawn Dynasty and Kaveh Khanim that is called a godly reset, and this is correlated to the god of the moon, and so I decided to draw the dark sky of the night and the one of dawn, to sort of go against the dark sky of the stormy night and the woods in the background. Let's go past this one just in case we cannot show the peach emoji on YouTube. Okay, this one, I think it's the spy. Yes, this is the spice. I'm looking to my side to see if there is the right words. This is still Dorothy. I was told by Candi that I didn't get his hair right in the first picture, that it's supposed to be darker brown, so I fixed it, and I can very quickly describe this. Dorothy is obviously a male. He's together with Lunia, like I explained in the relationship. They have a secret relationship together, and Lunia, like anybody else during the time period that we are on and of good family, is to produce an heir and a child. And Dorothy has this element of he doesn't feel like he's up to par with women because he cannot do that. His body doesn't allow him to do that, and so he ends up sort of despising himself for not being able to give him the heir that he deserves and needs. But then they do. He does get married to somebody else and have a child, and Dorothy would absolutely do anything for this child in every way. But she told me that the idea of despising would still be there, and so that's the type of emotion that I wanted to convey here, like the love for somebody else while still having self-loathing for yourself. This one I do not like. It was one of the first pictures that I absolutely hated. It's Misery. I hated it because it's very confusing. The background kind of like meets itself and blends all together. The shades and the tones are completely messed up. The blacks didn't blend, and just a bunch of different elements. I actually looked up at references of an actual graveyard in Europe to draw this, but not good, not okay. Didn't like it. I will not spend too much time on it, but this character's name is Rhea, this character's name is Leonidas. They are grandmother and grandson, and they are weeping over the loss of her children and his uncles and father, basically. And yeah, ugly, do not recommend. Would probably redo this in a sketchbook in a different way. This one, on the other hand, I do like. It's cute. It has cute colors, and I enjoy it. The prompt for this was gods, and I just really wanted to show the relationship between Aristeus, the god of the sun, and Danaus, the god of the moon, together, watching as dawn gets painted through the sky of their godly palace in the clouds. Aristeus, being the god of the sun, is also called a dawn painter, and so he's the one that creates these effects of orange and pink and all together. There's part of the lore that says that the color pink, this is heavily again inspired by the Greek mythology, where things are not necessarily scientifically accurate, so they don't make the most sense, but they are still romantic and cute, and so we go with them. The color pink wasn't necessarily used, and he decided to create it by mixing the whites and the reds in order to make a color just for the god of the moon, and so pink came to be in the Dawn universe. Oh, this one. Okay. This one I am really, really, really devastated about. This one is War. The digital sketch of this was lovely. I liked it. I wanted this to look like a wartime photograph of the 1940s, but it just wasn't happening. These two characters are called Daniel and Ray, and these two are the nicknames that they are given within their bases. That's the coat of arms. I just think that balance in here is missing. I just think that it's like not good. Overall, the judgment of this picture is that it's not good. It's not bad, but it's definitely one of the worst ones. It just could have been better, but I didn't have the skill. I don't have the skill to currently make it better, so we'll go past it. This one kind of the same. The proportions in this one are completely off, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. So these two are like two of the ones that I'm not necessarily proud of, but I would say that this one has better proportioning, better placement, better construction and composition of the picture. You can kind of tell that they are army generals or whatever else you want to say, whereas this one is supposed to be a royal portrait and you really can tell what's going on. But I think this one is just called Outlook, and it's because they changed each other's outlook. This is King Hamaliel of the Kingdom of Harlaruk, which is an ice kingdom. It's based on a race that I made years ago called the Glousy, and she instead is the Grand Duchess of an empire that is far off in the distance in the warm part of the continent. So they come from completely different places, but she is very motherly and very she wants to be a good wife and a good housewife. So it's nice for the two of them to get together because she comes from a matriarchal line of rulers where women have a lot more power and a lot more decision in what they do. So it's completely different. She's happy with that. Her sister is the empress and everybody's happy with that. She's just a lot more gentle. So she doesn't like to fight people, and he's very kind and gentle as well, so they are really cute together. Next, I don't remember exactly what made this happen. Oh, Scratch. Yes. I think this was just an excuse because this character's name is Lessa. He's one of Candy's favorite characters, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna draw him. I'll draw him for you, shirtless and just standing there. And so, because let's be honest, it's completely fine for him to be standing with a shirt on and still have only that bandage. But I was like, you know what? I want to be quick. I only want to color skin, so I decided to go with the full shirtless look. This happens because he's somewhat trying to regain his memories about some stuff that has happened in the past, and so he's pondering about it while just being shirtless. This is also actually, I did this, I don't even remember if I said it to her, but I did it this way because this seems very similar to a picture that I had drawn of him a long time ago. It was back in 2016, and he was just like laying on the bed completely shirtless, exactly like this, and the skill wasn't there, so he looks completely different, but I wanted to kind of have a call out for that. So maybe if I find it, I will insert it as an overlay in this video. Moving on. This one was another tragedy. Okay, this one is, I think it's Warrant, something like that. This is Adonis and Esther. This is one of the novels that I'm more attached to. It's one of the novels that are in the progress of being written, and I think that it will turn out as a nice standalone. It's the story of how Esther, the god of death since the dawn of time, has never really quite grown attached to anyone, and he hasn't judged nor thought anything bad or ill of any gods or deity that ended up together with a human, but he just couldn't quite understand it. And then in the 1920s, precisely in 1929, he meets this young man that is supposed to be taken to the realm of the dead due to violent death, and he wishes to avoid that, but unfortunately fate is sometimes unavoidable, and so they end up having to deal with a couple of hardships that have to deal with this situation. So it's Esther and Adonis. Adonis obviously named after the hero Adonis, the lover of Venus. And I like this picture. I did this again twice. There was another one that I tried to do. It failed, and so I ended up with this one. And Adonis's face is completely wrong, but the rest of it gives it a nice warm feeling, and I don't mind it. It's actually pretty good. So there's that. This one, there's not a lot to say about this. Maybe, I think this one is admission. And it's Alexios and Danaeus, and they're holding hands over the landscape of Limnoria, which is the city that they live in. He is a soldier. He is not allowed to be a soldier because he doesn't pass the basic testing and grading and needing to be part of the guards and the army, and so instead it's mostly Alexios that is part of the guard. I can just quickly admit that Alexios and Aristeus are actually the same person, just in different situations, and so Danaeus doesn't know that yet, but it will come up later in the story, and in this point exactly, they are just sort of coming together and being together and accepting that they like each other, because it wasn't necessarily obvious, or rather, it was obvious to everybody else, but they were yet to admit it. Moving on. This one looks absolutely disgusting on camera because the paper is mixed media, but it's really thin, and so painting on it with gouache and ink is not necessarily the best idea. It looks incredibly muddy, but the idea wasn't bad per se. I based this off of a screenshot in the Disney movie Hercules, and there's Aristeus and D'Artagnan. He doesn't know who he is, but there's an exchange of power and position between the two of them in order to reenact a grand plan that will then happen throughout centuries, if not millennia, of their life, going down his family line, because he will turn them into, for lack of a better word or explanation, I will just say demon. It doesn't necessarily work like that, but we'll say that. It works well enough. And this is for Fog, which I think is the halfway point of the challenge, day 16. Yes, because this is day 17. This is also extremely muddy. I don't like it. I was having a hard time with all of these 2 days. And again, not painting with these paints ever again, probably. Then again, they were dollar store paints, so might have been something that was expected. But this is family. This is Frederick. Many of you might remember him. I used to draw him a lot for this channel. And this is Killian, which is his adoptive dad. And they are just watching over the river together, taking a walk after he's decided to adopt him. And the idea is really sweet, really cute. The execution, not so much. So do not recommend it. Absolutely not. Okay. I think the next 2 or 3 all suffer from the slight burnout of the first 10 or so days, or rather the burnout of I wish I had more time to work on these, because having a job and then having all of the responsibilities that come with it and the tiredness that comes with working with kids, I really underestimate that a lot of the time, and so I would get frustrated at the idea of not having more time, even though I should have focused on the picture instead. So the next few ones kind of all suffer from this same mental state. This one is Ignorance, and it's Daniel again and Ray. They are the same people from the military picture one when they are children. I can't fully explain their universe in short, but I can say that they have a really, really, really strict hierarchy and a very, very strict systematic racist type of society in which they live in. And so there's many times in which either of them gets called out or gets in trouble for things that they shouldn't be called out or get in trouble for, and the other one is there to comfort her or comfort the other one. So in this case it's Ray comforting Danny, because they're more like siblings than they are brothers and sister. And this one was for Ignorance, I think. Maybe I said it, maybe I didn't. Reconcile. This one, I don't know what happened with the proportions. I used statues, so I put the statue on top of my reference after I was done drawing it, so basically like shifting it around, and I even asked Candi to draw the pose how she saw it, and it was fine, but somehow the proportion still ended up looking terrible. I don't know why, even though the idea was pretty cute. I think that I'm just really bad at day scenes. Like every time I don't have to write a dawn, I have to draw a dawn or a sunset or nighttime, I don't know what to do, so I just kind of like resort to something that's really too bright or too strange that it looks like eerily cartoony, and I think that's what the problem with this is, other than the other than the perspective, because the town that I used as reference was also at nighttime and it looked better. But I just thought that it would look nicer with a daylight thing. So this is Daniel's mother and this is Daniel's father. He doesn't know who he is. He has no idea who he is. She doesn't tell him, and then she passes away, so there's no real way for him to know him. But they are really cute. They are very in love with each other, and it would have been really nice if they could have just stayed together. But her brother accidentally ends up murdering him, or rather he there's an attack that he launches and he ends up being there and losing his life within it, and so she runs away from home and never ends up telling her son about who her dad is, and things become complicated from there. I will just say this. This one is one of my favorites. I do think I could have pushed it a little bit more. I could have pushed a little bit more of the darkness and the shading within it, but this one is called Despair. This is the god of the sun, Aristeus, and I think that the situation that happened within this is probably obvious, but I will just say that this is something that has to do with the god of the moon, and he is absolutely distraught and devastated, to the point that I was going to use the word mourning for this specific prompt, but Candi was like, we should probably change it to something a little bit more usable and interchangeable, and so we went with despair. But I still stuck to my original idea of the picture, and here it is. He's absolutely distraught and devastated and destroyed, and this is sort of what puts into motion the plan that is into day 16 with fog. Moving on. Ooh, okay. This is a very simple one, and one that I took literally, day 21, ring. This was just for a character called Sania. She is in a story called Wards and Warrants, where she works as a in-house maid, and she ends up falling in love with a young lawyer who is absolutely head over heels in love with her, and decides in the end, little spoiler, but it's a cute spoiler, so we accept it, to marry her, and he gifts her this ring, and I just thought it was really cute, and it's set in the 1920s, and it was just really sweet, so I decided to go with it because it's a cute idea. And sometimes we all need a little bit of softness. Okay, here it is. Demand. All right. This is the second part of the picture that goes with bargain. So it was bargain and demand, not bargain and judgment. I'm stupid. I don't remember my own connections in my own sketchbooks. That's okay. This is still Aite, the goddess of delusion. This is supposed to be the second part of what happens after bargain. So you decide to bargain with the goddess of delusion, you decide to speak to her and have some sort of deal with her, thinking that you're gonna get something out of it, but in the end, she's always the one to win, and she's always going to get something from you. I'm not going to say exactly what she gets because it becomes quite gruesome, but she's definitely scary, and I wouldn't want to deal with her. And I just wanted to create that sense of dread and anxiety through her eyes, and I wanted to recreate the same look of the eyes. I think that the other one worked a little better, but maybe I am just, maybe it might have been the tiredness that made me think of it this way. But I do like the wings. I think that they came out really nice in this one. Weakness. I don't like this one. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I think it's messy. I think it's stupid. I think that the composition is really bad. Absolutely dislike it. I tried to make it a little better by showing more of the contrast through fire alpaca, but it absolutely did not help. But just to explain it, this was part 3 of the 3 Daniel pictures that I did. This one is Patrick's hand, which is Daniel's love interest, telling him to come and leave the house. This is his uncle Orif, his mother's brother. He's the reason why the father is no longer around, but they are each other's weakness. He tries to be very harsh with Danny and telling him that he shouldn't do many things, but Danny and him care for each other deeply, even though they try not to. And so this is what happens. They try to talk and they fight, and then they come back and they talk again, and it just goes over and over and over. This one is a little bit of a saving grace. This picture was finally something a little bit better than the ones I did before. This one is Judgment, and it's with Goylin. He's a character from the Code universe, so the same as Christopher and the same as Terrence, and he is actually Prince Terrence's love interest. He's his bodyguard, personal guard, and then he becomes his love interest. He is from a domain, I wouldn't call it a kingdom because they don't have a king, called a Brulilinth, and they have dragons there, and they raise them, and they are infused with dragon blood as well. There's two main races in this world that are related to dragons, one of them being the Gorgons, and one of them being another one that I will not say yet. And so the Gorgons are definitely warrior types of people and blacksmiths, and they raise dragons in general. But Goylin is only half Gorgon, and for this reason he kind of feels the judgment of everybody else. And so he's just here on the edge of the domain with his dragon Ograth. And I think they are discussing, I didn't quite decide if they can actually speak without speaking, like telepathically, but maybe, who knows, it's an idea. It's an idea. Okay, this one is all right. It's not too bad nor too good. This one is called Disagreement. This is actually from an upcoming chapter that we're working on for these two stories. These two characters, I can admit that are going to be two vampire characters. This one is Jack, this one is Silas. This is set during the end of World War I. Silas is supposed to be sent back to his own platoon, and Jacques is telling him to go, but Silas doesn't want him to go. So, doesn't want to go himself because he wants to stay with Jacques, and so he is begging him to make him stay, and Jacques doesn't want him to stay because he thinks that it's going to be dangerous, but in the end, spoiler, because they're cute, he ends up turning him, and they end up staying together for centuries and centuries. So, in the end, Silas kind of won the agreement, and the disagreement, and one cute thing about them is the fact that we decided that every time that Silas wants something stupid or silly, he just gets on his knees and begs Jacques to make him do it. And Jacques is like, okay, fine, you can do that. Oh my goodness, this one. Okay, this one is indoor. The idea behind it is really cute. I like the composition, but the execution is once again absolutely dreadful. And guess what? It's once again a day scene, so I think that we are finding a pattern. This one is Daeyun. It's young Daeyun in middle school. He is very, what do you want to call it? Unsociable. He doesn't really talk to other people in his class, nor does he really say anything. He mostly exchanges letters with Lessa, and he wants to go see him, so he ends up like being, well, they try to bully him. He's not necessarily the easiest kid to bully, even though he's so small. So that's it. I tried to make a decent looking classroom with the colors that he and Lessa share, so pink and yellow, but absolutely disgusting. It doesn't look good at all, so we're just going to continue. Love him, don't like the picture. Okay, this one on the other end, it's not too bad. It could have been worse, but it also could have been a lot better. This is definitely going to be one that I will try to redraw. This is a picture of Daeyun and Lessa when they are older, and they are on a school trip at a local museum, and they end up seeing a painting of Aristeas and Danaus and thinking that they strangely look like each other. That's like very interesting. I wonder why that is. So I like it. I like the concept, I like the pose, but the coloring is kind of revolting, and hopefully I will be able to redo it. And once again, day scene in the painting. So next time, probably dawn or dark lighting, and it'll be better. Anyways, I'm out of breath for anxiety. Like, that's so interesting. This one. Okay, this one is very simple. I think it's just called Feast. I keep forgetting to mention the prompt. I'm sorry. I will have put the list at the beginning. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at doing these. This one is called Feast because the two of them are together again and they remember each other, and there's just like a nice element of feast and happiness, and everything is very sweet and gentle, and I just wanted to draw them together cuddling and being soft. And I quite like this one. Usually I am not a big fan of very simple pictures. I'm not a big fan of just two characters on the page without any background or anything, but is pretty good. This is pretty cute. We stand that. We appreciate them. Okay. This one is called Key. This one is again very simple but very cute. These two characters are Leo and Jamie. This is actually a very difficult one to explain. The reason why I chose Key for this one, I copied Candi first of all, but it's because within their universe there are many different realms, kind of like how in Nightmare Before Christmas there are a bunch of like doors through the center of the forest. There's a bunch of different realms and you can access them through keys, and the way that you access them also affects time and space and positioning, so it's very interesting. But Jamie ends up accidentally going through one of the portals and he ends up in Leo's world in Reefshire, and so they end up liking each other right away, and it's really cute and I love them and they're one of my favorite character couples. So there's that. I don't think I got Jamie's colors right fully, but I like him, so there's that. Second to last, Sin and Chris. This is Chris. He's the same guy from day 3 who was dealing with the ghost of his dead brother. Him and Sin go a long way. I think that I kind of messed up on the proportions again. His hand is supposed to be smaller than Sin's, but not this much smaller, and overall he's delicate, but like I just overdid it. They are also another duo of Prince and Bodyguard, but they don't necessarily work the same as Terrence and Goylin. I just think they're really cute, and I like how Sin is seen by everyone as some sort of like, what do you want to call it, gold digger, I suppose. But Chris just absolutely loves him from the moment that he meets him, and just as a little spoiler, they meet in prison, and he just looks at him and he's like, yes, you are absolutely the best guy around. I want you to be here. And so that's it. Yeah, no, that's about it. I like the colors in this. It's just again, very simple, but not too bad. And now we're on to the last one. This is Sunlight. This is supposed to be a sister piece to the one of day 1 with Moonlight. I don't think it's on par with Moonlight. There's definitely something missing, but again, I think I'm just better with darker color palettes. But it's definitely a cute way to end the challenge on, and I really like the characters and the way that they interact with each other. I think that it's a cute little way to tie it all together, and I am very happy to have put Aristeas at the end and Danaeus at the beginning. It's just really, really, really cute. And that's about it. I actually painted this one with the background and I colored the other one within the background, so there's different elements within the techniques as well. But that's it. This is my last day. If you wish to stay for another 2 minutes, I will show you some of the extras that I have in here, which are the failed attempts. But if you wish to leave, thank you very much for watching. We'll very quickly go through these. This was the first attempt at Tense Day 5, with the one with the daylight. Did not like it. Absolutely not my favorite. This was the first attempt at the one with the peach emoji. Did not turn out well. This was the first attempt at the one with Adonis and Esther, which I think was Warrant. I believe this was it. So I didn't finish this one and I just redid it. This was the first attempt at the one with Aristeas in Mourning and Despair. Didn't turn out well, so I just redid it. And the one with Daeyun. So the one in school with Endor. And that's it. There we go, everyone. We finished this year's art challenge. It was quite interesting to see. Some pieces were quite nice. Some other pieces were not quite so nice. But it was fun, and I'm really proud of us for finishing it and getting to the end. It was quite a journey, and I hope to do other ones soon. We are currently doing NaNoWriMo, so in case anybody's interested in reading some bits of the novel parts, you can join us on our Instagrams. And I would love to know which pages were your favorite, which parts were your favorites, which prompts were your favorites, and I will be seeing you in my next sketchbook tour, which is also long overdue because I almost finished like another one and I still have to do the old one that I promised you all. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you super soon, and I'm sending spooky hugs to all of you. Bye!